Hey, this is Dalton Davis, and you're listening to Music Row with Leake.
Welcome to Music Row, a backstage pass to your favorite country artists. Here's your host, Leake.
Today's guest is former bull rider, now singer-songwriter Dalton Davis out of Carolina, who we caught up with in Toronto prior to his Whiskey Jam Toronto performance. First, some news. The Red Clay Strays have announced the 2025 Get Right Tour and will also be releasing Live at the Ryman with a number of bonus tracks. The tour kicks off on July 3rd in Alabama and is set to run until October 4, where they will wrap up in Detroit. Brad Paisley has announced the 2025 The Truck Still Works World Tour, which includes a date at Red Rocks Theater in Colorado on the 24th of May, a venue that Paisley, surprisingly, has never played before. And Wyatt Flores posted on X, just had a middle-aged man keep taking photos of me while walking down the aisle of an airplane. Didn't ask for a picture, just kept taking them. This is weird. Please remember, I'm a normal human being. I just happen to sing.
Wherever there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is Music Row on Tour.
Brought to you by the Pecan Artists Agency, connecting artists with audiences worldwide. Red Clay Strays hit the Midway Music Hall in Edmonton on the 8th, with dates coming up in Winnipeg, Toronto, London, and Austin towards the end of the month. Hayes Carl plays the Outlaws and Legends Music Fest in Abilene, Texas on the 26th of March, then hits Lexington, Knoxville, and Chattanooga in April.
Hey, this is Dalton Davis, and you're listening to Music Row with Leake. Check 1, 2. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Dalton knows what he's doing.
There we go. Lindsay Lohan hit the highs and lows at the same time. Lindsay Lohan.
Who taught you that?
I was adopted by a gospel singer, and so he used to do that before every show.
Hang on.
I don't know why they did that, but they were just like, they would tell me, like, if you say that the right way, it'll hit the high frequencies and low frequencies at the same time. So, like, Lindsay Lohan.
I wonder whose name was said before Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, no kidding.
Was it Dolly? No, it wouldn't be Dolly Parton, but anyways.
Maybe like some Donna Summers or something like that.
You might be right. Dalton Davis is joining us from in Toronto today. I'm not sure if it's the first time in Canada.
No, we played here at the Opera House in, I believe, November, opening for Dasha.
So you managed to come to Canada 2 times now
in 6
the
months.
Winter.
Terrible, just thugging it out.
Like, do you guys not have the internet where you live to understand what weather can be like traveling in Canada at this time? Especially a guy who grew up in North Carolina.
It's because all the big dogs are, they're like the New York old folk. They went down to Florida and are enjoying the beach and the island. So it's like, all right, well, anybody who's not a superstar, you got to grind during the winter. So it's game time.
Grinding is a great way to put it. You got to put the work in.
100%.
And I was just talking with somebody about this recently, where if you're not putting in all the work and getting the reps in right now, when things really start taking off, you're not going to be ready and you're going to probably burn out. What are you doing, Dalton, to avoid burnout right now? Because all I see is you're writing and writing and writing. I don't think you have a fixed address.
No, we're all over the place, that's for sure. I think one of the biggest things that helps us not burn out is I run a creative agency with some of the guys that are with me today that we do photos and videos for other artists. So, and I'm Dalton, the artist, and I got the braids in. It's like when we show up at that, I got my hair pulled up in a bun and a hat pulled down low, and I'm just a producer that day, and I'm not there to be the artist or anything. I'm just, hey, this would look cool on camera. Maybe pose like this or do that. So I get to like still be creative without it being like the forced creative or like, we are still loving what we're doing, but like, there's no like pressure on that because it's like, okay, well, I don't have to post this or I don't have to be a part of this. It's just getting to like get that creative outlet. And then also I go home and play with my fiance and 8-year-old daughter and just have a blast and just.
It's so good that you enjoy doing all of those pieces because you have to do those pieces today as a new artist.
100%.
And I know some people who are in music. They're very great at writing, great in the studio. Cannot stand the internet, and that's a new world. So I think they came in during a weird transition of where social media really became a major player
100%.
With music.
I'm thankful to have the guys around me because, I grew up rodeoing and kind of, not thinking about how to be on a computer or how to do any of that. So, I'm about to turn 30 and they make fun of me all the time. Like, bro, how do you not know how to work your Mac? Like, what is this? How do you not know how to turn this on or get this download the right way? And like, thank God the boys are there. Like, okay, let's do this. And I'm like, I have this idea. And they're like, this is how you actually do that. I'm like, okay, perfect.
What was your rodeo? What was your event?
I was bull riding, unfortunately.
Did you wear?
So I walked, kind of a little funny.
Like you've been riding a bull for a long period of time. Did you wear the hockey helmet with the full cage?
I didn't. Cowboy hat. You got to know it's me up there. We just did I put a single out in November or December, Sick Crooked. And we did a little partnership with the PBR, and they're asking, like, what's your relationship with bull riding? I was like, well, I'll just go show you. So we called some buddies in Alabama. We went roding a rodeo. And they're like, you got to wear a helmet. I was like, no, because in Nashville, somebody could be like, well, he had a stunt double. I was like, they're going to know it was me. They're going to see the braids flying.
Yeah, you can't be on the bull riding with a hockey helmet and expect any attention coming back your way.
Kidding.
You're
Unless
just another
doing
hockey
some
helmet.
badass riding. Because I will say there are some PBR riders who are helmeted up, but they're riding the rankest bulls in the world. And it's like, okay, you go do that.
What got you into that?
It was kind of one of those things where, we were back and forth from living in the kind of the closer to the city and then out into a rodeo farm. So my mom's a great uncle. So it was like, we would get down on bread or whatever. We'd go live out there. And my mom was working at the rodeos. My first job was breaking horses at a horse ranch. And so it was just kind of naturally progression.
What does a chiropractor say to you?
See, my manager the other day, they were asking, we had a meeting with somebody and they're like, how did you feel after that bull riding? The last one, I was like, at 15 riding bulls wasn't too bad. At 29, my hip still hurts from December riding that rodeo. And my manager's like, bro, you got to go to a chiropractor. I'm terrified of what he's going to tell me. He's going to say my hips sit like this, my shoulders sit like this. And
he's probably going to say all your bones look like just a pile of lumber.
he's like, are you 80? That's what the doctors always tell me. They're like, you look like a 70-year-old man. I'm like, sorry about that.
They don't put that on the waiver. By the way, this will advance your age by tenfold if you do this only one time.
No kidding. I'm going to have the Heelys and my cowboy boots so I can get around without walking.
Oh my. Listen, let's talk about music.
Absolutely.
For you. You grew up in North Carolina. What are you listening to?
It was kind of like, I will say my parents have a very wide spectrum of music taste. So, I was getting a lot of like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Earl King, but also like the Bee Gees and Cher, but then like 90s country and like, kind of everything, while there's a random gospel influences in there too. And just kind of was like, my parents were definitely music kids from back in the day to where they were just like, oh, I love this record, and all these things in between. And then, they were still fans. So when we were kids, it wasn't like, hey, I want to listen to this in the radio. They were like putting on whatever they wanted to, and we were just listening to it.
Was there lots of live music in North Carolina? Because I find that there's some cities where there's not a very good live music scene. So it's hard for an artist to break.
There wasn't definitely a solidified music scene. I was just very blessed to be around musicians growing up. My mom's younger brother's still this day one of the best pickers I've ever met. And so I got to see him growing up and be like, oh, I just want to be like him. And there's a family, the Waitcasters. They're a big gospel family from Tennessee and North Carolina. My mom grew up with them. So I was like a kid watching expert level musicianship and be like, oh, this is achievable. I can do this.
You make the decision. You're going to do it as a career. You're putting away the bull. And you're going to head out on the road. Were you writing a lot of material at home before you ended up going to Tennessee, or?
It's kind of a wild experience. So I moved to Tennessee as like a 14-year-old or something like that. With my mom, we moved out to West Tennessee, and then I got adopted by the gospel singer and traveled with him. I didn't go full-time into country music in 2018 until 2018. I always wanted to, but until that point, I was working at a church. It was one of those things where I felt like I should be dead or in prison and not there. And since these church folk had got me to where I was, they said, you're going to work at this church. And I said, yes, sir.
Were you playing in the church?
Yeah, I was the worship pastor. So I was leading the worship Sundays and doing kind of the whole thing. And then realized one Sunday, I was like, this is just not what I'm supposed to do. And so went back to Chattanooga and kind of started diving in and chasing it. And we've just been chasing it ever since.
But kind of off the top, getting the reps in, standing in front of people is, most people will say that's their biggest fear in life, having to present. So you're getting already reps on that end of things. And now you're getting the reps in learning how to be the performer.
Absolutely.
Because it is grand performance.
Every Sunday, week in, week out.
I've said that, the pastors and the church and that it's really just a live podcast.
Yeah, honestly though. With no room to edit, though. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
The podcast, you got a little bit of a buffer room or something. In the church, it's like you got 100 people in the congregation, you just messed that note up. And then that other 100 don't know you messed it up. You're just bouncing the.
That is the craziest thing, because like singing a national anthem, everybody knows the words. When it's a song that's in a church, everybody knows the words.
They grew up on it,
but when they see an artist on stage, like you could be the biggest Garth Brooks fan in the world, but you may not know the lyrics to all of his songs, right?
Sure.
So you can kind of
check out a little bit.
Yeah. So 2018 starts, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this full time. Were you just writing, like crushing out songs, going into writing rooms and stuff? Or
I had this 500 square foot apartment in Chattanooga with no electricity or running water that I'd kept. And so I moved back there and ended up moving into this shed behind this like a rap and R&B studio in Chattanooga, and kind of just got my reps. I was like, hey, I want to be a country singer, and I'm just going to write these songs every day as long as I can. And it was one of those things, if you're the only country singer in a house full of people who don't like country music, you better be damn confident in, excuse my language, but what you're bringing to the table, because if not, they're going to send you back to that outside and be like, hey, that was not the move,
Did you get to go into the studio from that shed 100%. And just lay down some tracks every once in a while?
All the time. And I got to be a fly on the wall. It was one of the biggest thankfulness I have in my career was those couple years of just getting to sit there, and I was just shaping my craft and figuring out who I wanted to be, but learning from greats and how they did it, and this is breath control, and this is how I approach this. And a lot of ways I approach recording now is how I saw these guys do it in the hip-hop studios. Like, oh, that's so much more efficient than having this whole elaborate scheme. It's like, oh, let's just go do that. So even my record now, we're doing it at my producer's house, cooking it up like it was a rap record.
You had your own internship, without having to...
From the School of Hard Knocks, for sure.
From the School of Life, absolutely. Do you still communicate with that studio today?
The studio has dissolved, but some of the guys, for sure, like one of the guys, Elijah Dax, he's a crazy R&B singer, actually has a kind of following here with the producer Junior T. He's a crazy Toronto producer, but he sings backgrounds on my whole record, and so we're still intertwined and making music together.
Tell me about touring with some artists and opening for artists like Dwight Yoakam and Midland. Both very different.
Right.
Midland are arguably maniacs. Right? And Dwight Yoakam
also arguably a maniac.
But has been
spectrum.
Yeah, but has been on the country music map for 40 years now. Almost 40 years, we'll say. What were these? Did you have much interaction with these guys? Did you pick up anything that they were working on? Because you say you're picking up things from the studio, and it was hip hop guys that were in the studio.
Yeah.
So what were the guys on the stage that you were touring with and doing opening for? What were they giving you?
Definitely had more interaction with Midland. I always hate to say this, but the whole time we toured with Dwight, we never even got to meet him. And that's like a whole other kind of animal touring with. And he's a rock star and been a rock star for a long time and been in movies, and he got his life the way he wants to, and everything else is just figuring it out on the road. But the Midland guys are really cool. I kind of just learned, I don't know that I was really in those moments being like, okay, let me soak the knowledge, what I can do. Those were moments where it's I can't believe I'm here. Let me just enjoy the moment that I'm here. I traded a watch to Midland to open on tour with them, and then that led into the Dwight thing. So it was kind of just I don't know even how I'm here, so I'm just going to soak all this up.
I think with Midland, I'm speculating. When you're around them, you understand that, wait a minute, there's more to life. I don't have to worry about things. These guys are pretty chill.
They figure out how to have fun, that's for sure.
And they were at a point too, not so long ago, where they were thinking they weren't going to be a band anymore, and then fired it all up, and they just hit the right chord and the right stride. I think they just had some artist maturity for themselves. What does Whiskey Jam mean to you, Dalton?
Whiskey Jam is, that's the first gig I played in Nashville. I moved to Nashville, I think March the 1st or the 2nd of 2023, and either the 2nd or the 3rd we played Whiskey Jam. So it's been ingrained in us since we got here.
Did you know what it was beforehand?
I had seen it. It was one of those things where I had been flirting with Nashville for months before, and was kind of doing the come to Nashville, meet with different companies and publishing companies and all that jazz. So I was aware of what it was, but didn't think that I was going to be in that window. And then I had a meeting with someone, and they're like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to play Whiskey Jam. And then Ward texted me that day. It was like, hey, bro, you want to play? I was like, oh, this is real life.
Do you have a hard time saying no? I know that there's a lot of bands that can kind of crash and burn sometimes because they just think they have to say yes to every opportunity and every stage. And that can be a difficult spot to be in.
I think we don't have too much of a problem with that, just because, one, we're not saying a no to a lot, just because I know there's not going to be this time that we have now to do all this wild shit in 10, 15 years, or like even 5 years. The way the trajectory we're on right now, if it keeps going like this, we're going to be so busy in 5 years. I'm not going to be able to go play with the bros and do the fun stuff. So now it's like I'm trying to soak all this up as much as I can. And there's a quote from Roger Allen Wade. He's a country writing legend. And he told me one time that every venue and every gig I play going up, I'm going to play coming back down if I do my career right in country music. So I'm enjoying setting all these situations up. So it's like, when I'm 65, Lord wills it, and we're a legacy act in country. When we're coming back down, it's like I want to play these gigs again and like do it. Just keep the road. Roger Allen Wade's in his 70s and still packing out houses playing the same songs he wrote in 1970. I'm like, that is the dream.
Dalton Davis might be 30. His bones are definitely 75, and playing a venue near you all the time.
We're coming
over the next 5 years. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me.
Follow Music Row on X at Music Row Country, on Instagram at Music Row Official. Music Row is produced by Shed of Dreams.